Brooklyn Independent Television.
Welcome to this Brooklyn Independent TV special, Brooklyn Storms Back. I'm Brian Vines. In the last few weeks since Superstorm Sandy devastated parts of coastal Brooklyn, Brooklynites have turned into super volunteers, contributing wherever they can to help those in need. Now in Bay Ridge, they dodged the devastation, but the community is rallied to help those who didn't. Bay Ridge Cares provides aid, comfort, and support to Brooklynites in need by providing hundreds of hot meals from their kitchen at St. Mary's Church.
It can be hard enough cooking for a large family, but imagine cooking for hundreds of people each day. That's what volunteers have been doing for victims of Hurricane Sandy at the Bay Ridge Cares Kitchen at St. Mary's Church at 81st Street and Ridge Avenue.
I think we're really sending out full cans of love because it's really cooked with the idea of nourishing people, not just feeding them.
Bay Ridge is kind of like in an area on the harbor where we're kind of protected and we're very high up off the water. That's why it's called Bay Ridge. We're up on a ridge. So we were blessed not to have the damage that many of the other surrounding areas had, which is why we're able to really work out of this area.
The kitchen has become a community-wide effort, but the idea got its start during a phone call between Councilman Vincent Gentili's spokesperson, Justin Brannan, and the owner of Robicelli's Bakery.
Allison Robicelli, a chef who I grew up with in Bay Ridge, had the idea to do a soup kitchen. And I thought it was a great idea, and I called Karen Tadros, and I knew that she had a great relationship with Father Elias at St. Mary's. And within about 10 minutes, we had access to the St. Mary's kitchen, and we started cooking about 2 days later.
The kitchen got up and running around mid-November. It operates 6 days a week, preparing about 800 meals a day, which go out in 2 shifts.
We're hooked into the Occupy Sandy main hub. All those young people that were down in Zuccotti Park protesting for many, many months have redirected their energies and have put them into serving people that were affected by the hurricane. Most of the large food requests go into their central system, and then we hook up during the day by phone. They tell me what they need, I tell them what I have, and we figure out where it would be best served. Are you going to be over at St. John's all day today? Thank you. And what time are you there till?
Those at the Bay Ridge Cares Kitchen coordinate their efforts with the Occupy Sandy site at St. John's Episcopal Church at 99th Street in Bay Ridge. The church has a much larger kitchen than St. Mary's, and volunteers prepare meals there as well.
We keep in touch with the other hubs by phone, and we have a list of the places we've sent meals to already. We call them in the morning to confirm that they still need our help and how much, and then we plan out, just like you would a restaurant, our entire day and start scheduling deliveries out from there. We work with the other hubs. They send drivers to us. We dispatch the drivers from here to the places where the food is needed.
Hey Paul, let's get these string beans out.
Yeah, I just tossed them up. They're ready to get up?
There are places that are community centers that are used to feeding people that just don't have the means to cook. So we're working with churches, we're working with community centers, and we're making sure that those community ties they have are still being supported with our food.
St. Mary's Church has delivered home-cooked hot meals and desserts that have helped those in hard-hit areas like the Rockaways in Queens, as well as in Breezy Point, Red Hook, and Coney Island.
Some areas in Breezy Point, some areas of the Rockaways, some areas of Gerritsen Beach are still without power, but mostly they're single-family homes. Thankfully, all the New York City Housing Authority buildings have gotten their power back. That was a big concentration by us in the very beginning because there were a lot of senior citizens still in those buildings who would not leave.
What was the motivating factor for starting this organization? Did it have anything to do with the fact that Bay Ridge was not severely affected by Hurricane Sandy?
It was not a matter of Bay Ridge not being affected. It was seeing the devastation and the circumstances of so many people. In an instant, their lives were changed. And you can't help but be affected by that, whether you were affected or not.
Many of the cooks at St. Mary's are well known and have joined the relief effort after being displaced from their jobs because of Sandy, like this banquet chef for the River Cafe.
The restaurant itself is on a boat, so definitely got the brunt of the impact of the surge. So flooded out, pretty much has to be redone, the entire inside and the kitchen. So while that's happening, volunteer my time here. Try to cook hearty foods because people are out in the cold. Working hard, things that provide them energy to keep on going with what they're doing. So stews, a lot of lentils, hearty grains, squashes. Today we have a beef stew going. We have a turkey pot pie going on later in the day.
How many ovens do you have?
Just the two. They're commercial brand, but not commercial oven, so we can't fit as much in as we would in a normal commercial kitchen. But we work with what we can and do what we can.
Volunteers have come from everywhere. This North Carolina man took time off from his job to fly to New York for the first time for the sole purpose of helping out those in need.
North Carolina usually gets hit by a lot of hurricanes, but Sandy kind of skipped us this time. And I was just reading some news articles, but you guys got really jacked up from Sandy and a lot of other things. And after hurricanes, we usually have 80-degree temperatures. We usually go swimming after hurricanes. You guys had blizzards. And so like 200,000 people without power or housing them. Like, I'm not okay with that. I can't do a whole lot, but I can do a little bit.
I've helped friends clean out their flooded apartments, and it's really, really emotionally tough, so I do that. But when I come here, it doesn't matter how tired I am when I walk in, within 20 minutes I'm energized, and it's always great people, great conversation. I love the fact that we're feeding close to 1,000 people a day.
Those at the Bay Ridge Cares Kitchen say it will be operational until December 15th.
We have the space till Christmas. We're committed to December 15th, and hopefully we can go further if it's needed.
Teenagers from across Brooklyn have been affected by the storm. And in a couple of our stories, we showed you how some high school students felt as the storm came ashore. In this next story, a group of young filmmakers in training got a lesson in documenting the events when their teachers from RealWorks, based right here in Gowanus, took them and their cameras to Red Hook.
Now what are you going to do? You're going to try and do this establishing?
So when the storm hit and that whole week, we didn't have any students showing up. All the students were affected in some way. I got the sense that a lot of them wanted to talk about the storm, and the idea came up for us to actually go and do some filming. And then the students took it from there. They just took off with it.
Since Red Hook is not far away from RealWorks, maybe we should go down there, interview some people, kind of have a hands-on activity to practice everything we learned so far.
I got informed and I ran down there as fast as I could, and we were looking at the devastation.
There was a lot of rubbish and residue and stuff on the ground.
I live in a neighborhood that I was lucky, it was barely touched by the hurricane. Being there and seeing all the watermarks too, you can see the rotting wood and the destroyed apartments. It was a bit shocking. We heard about the first woman who we were interviewing, the one who was behind all the volunteer work.
No, I think that Hurricane Sandy has led to, levels of community outreach and support and unity that I don't think many people have thought of themselves that way in a long time, at least in my experience.
Another interview subject, the one who lost his business.
What is your name and what do you do?
My name is Tony. I am an electrical contractor.
We just saw him in a pile of garbage that was left of his previous life, and we just decided to interview him.
All my material, all my stuff is all wounded from downstairs, basement.
We just scanned the streets for possible interviewees,
We went into a couple stores, saw a few people, and spoke to them.
I was wondering about your sign over there. Was that caught in the storm?
This is how far the water came up at the store. And this sign was, hey gorgeous, was probably already at this level. So the water inside the store on the first floor came up about 4 feet.
And then random people, we would just be shooting and they'd start talking to us about what was going on.
So I have a question for you guys. Is it easier to do the second interview with that guy than share the first one?
Chris O'Fault, our instructor, just spent the day today reviewing the footage.
So he's a little off to the side, but we got all his junk back there, right? This picture tells a story, right?
We were analyzing our mistakes, and we learned what our strengths are.
The instincts that I saw from the students down in Red Hook were right on.
The new technical skills that I learned was like how to position the person that you're interviewing. Like don't have the camera towards the light.
For me, I like to establish shots. I like to work the camera. I think definitely it was not only a good life lesson, it was also a good filmmaking practice.
Even though the media isn't centered around it in the way that it was a few weeks ago, I think our students are really interested in continuing to engage with this subject and report on it and learn from the individuals that are impacted and also the ones that are helping.
As a filmmaker, definitely we do have a responsibility to show the world what really happens. Just not every media source, not every information source covers everything that needs to be covered. And I think the filmmakers can fill the gap. They can uncover something that some people choose to ignore.
Thank you guys. I think it's great you're doing it. Congratulations. Very professional. Cheers. Great. All right, turn that camera off.
Most Red Hook businesses really took a hit. Up and down Van Brunt Street and on other neighboring blocks, Hurricane Sandy had a scattershot effect, completely devastating some businesses while others never had to close. Organizations like Restore Red Hook are making it their business to help businesses get back on their feet and encouraging shoppers and diners to come down and support the neighborhood.
My name is Lisa Swenson. I'm the co-owner of Homemade in Red Hook, and we were victims of Hurricane Sandy. We had a completely full basement of water through the floor up until 38 inches in the restaurant, and it pretty much just wiped us and the rest of the businesses on Van Brunt Street out.
So here at the winery, we're on Pier 41, and we're surrounded three sides by water. When the water came up, there was really no defense. We had sandbags and we lifted things off the floor, but water came in about 5 feet, and not just rising water. All the barrels had been uplifted, all the equipment had been thrown all over the place, so it was pretty much a raging ocean in here.
I guess you might be able to see the impact that the hurricane had on my business here. So it's almost 3 weeks after and I'm still closed with no real vision of when I'm going to be able to reopen. The damage was pretty severe, and when I first came in, I said, "Oh my gosh, not so bad. I could be 2 weeks." But as the days go, you see the impact it really had, and it's a lot to handle.
Knowing the winds were going to come from the north and the northeast, we put a lot of lines out there, and again, we didn't have very many places to tie to. As we got closer, my wife abandoned ship. The first tide came, and it was into Conover Street. Knowing that the big surge was yet to come, we were really kind of tipped off that it was indeed going to be a huge storm surge.
We were lucky. This part of the gallery is on a little hill, the old part of one of the islands of Red Hook. Water was just 20 feet to our right and 20 feet to our left. So this block was an island of Van Brunt. We were lucky it didn't come into the doorway, and so now you see that we have an exhibition we're able to continue on.
I rode out the storm on the tanker with people helping during the storm.
It took us several hours a day after the storm to get the ship back to the pier. And so I came ashore on Thursday afternoon after getting an email that there was a barbecue on Van Brunt Street, that the restaurants didn't want their food to go to waste, and there was a free barbecue for the public. And so several blocks coming into Red Hook on Van Brunt Street, I was just shocked at what I saw. I've been so busy, I hadn't read media, and it was just astounding. And I used to be a photojournalist, so I've photographed sort of revolutions and disasters and wreckage. And here was my neighborhood devastated like that. And so I thought, well, we're basically fine, and that this place really needs help.
As a response to the storm and to help people recover, my partner, Monica Byrne, and myself, St. John Frizzell and Jen Watson of Fort Defiance, and Matt Lewis from Baked, we all got together, in addition to some others, to form RestoreRedHook.org, because nobody who has a business will have flood insurance in Zone A. So a way to help the businesses get an infusion of cash was a way to reopen the businesses and get them going. Because if we don't get going, this area is going to die. In order to help them, we created this organization to help people get their lights back on, buy materials, get replacement equipment.
I know a lot of people who have lost their homes, and FEMA's there for the homeowners. But long-term, businesses also need to survive because businesses employ individuals. FEMA does nothing for business. FEMA opens the door to SBA. SBA does loans up to $2 million, interest 4%. A lot of businesses can't take on more debt, and even the percentage rate is not really that low where it's feasible.
About my equipment loss, and I had an idea of banding together with the rest of the neighborhood to create like kind of a bulk purchase of equipment. I had written a letter to the Trolson Company, introduced me to a distributor who's here in Red Hook working with all the different restaurants and bodegas to try and do what he can to nationally get equipment in here to Red Hook to get people started. So there's a positive approach to this to resolve that equipment issue for everybody.
I set up the center here to help, and I know the neighborhood well. Victoria Hagman, who lives here in Red Hook, is very community-minded, and she is a tenant here, Gallery at Brooklyn. We brought computer workstations off the boat, a printer, modems, and the idea was initially to help people apply for aid. The functions of the space have changed. We're also coordinating with other hot spots, as they're called, of aid delivery here, and then communicating information directly to the mayor's office, elected officials, and whatever, when we see patterns of need, like making constructive suggestions or requests.
So around us is a lot of things that had to come out of the container. Once that tipped over, I had to empty that so we can prepare to move it. And this rope was wrapped around one of the large rocks. You can see where this strand is completely gone. A second strand is completely gone. And here's the last and final strand that is about halfway. As you're wearing away at the storm and the wind is working at you, you never know how close to the edge you are. As the storm was coming from the north and later the northeast, we had a lot of lines that were out in this direction, really looking for anything that we could find that was immovable to tie to. We used a large section of the pier that had fallen in. We also used an old bit that was still attached to a part of the pier that had fallen. And in the height of the storm, all of these lines held.
So unfortunately, this is indicative of what we were left with. This is a combination of what would have been wine and salt water. So we've slowly but surely been disposing of this and just assessing what comes next. One of our major challenges is now, having just gone through harvest, we have all the bills from harvest. We're going to be putting all those grapes in the dumpster, and we're faced with these difficult decisions. We have farmers that we support them and their families. So if we don't pay them, it really impacts many other people and businesses aside from just our own. We were able to rescue this flag from the wreckage, and we made a little inspirational sign that people can come down, and when they start to lose hope, they can come down and rebuild.
I would definitely ask people that are seeing this to not forget about Red Hook at all. It's just a tremendous village neighborhood that has many shops to offer, and just because of this sadness that happened, it's not to scare people away from coming to Red Hook at all. If anything, it's to come and support us when we all do open.
People are coming together in ways I have never seen. Want that to continue as we rebuild the community in ways that we want as a community, that we work together and not as a divided community.
We still need volunteers to do physical work. We had hundreds, actually thousands of them come into Red Hook. It was really inspiring, but that suddenly dropped off this week. So the volunteer program is now going to be changing to be concentrated on weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. I've been really moved and inspired by the community spirit and the collaboration here. And there are a lot of really can-do people with a lot of trades. We were already kind of an organized neighborhood even before Sandy, and I think it's just helped push us in that direction. So there's been a tremendous spirit of giving.
In terms of the businesses in the neighborhood, I think it's really important now more than ever to support them. Some people need donations, some people need commerce. What I'm trying to put together with some of the businesses local is a way to cobble together a makeshift market of some sort where people can create goods. So if we could do that even short term to help the rebuild process, that would be really valuable. And for people to support that would be huge in this neighborhood.
Most of the business down here are just so vibrant, but we're all working on the very edge, and so something like this just pushes us. Our hearts are broken for not only ourselves, but for our neighbors, and we realize how we need each other. So we need people to support us and come down and shop here.
Yeah?
Yeah. Someone got some lobster rolls.
Oh, nice. At the restaurant?
In the last year, we've had Hurricane Irene, Hurricane Sandy, an earthquake, and a tornado. You know, so all of a sudden the extremes are at our door. So it's you know, what's coming next, we don't know. There may be a day where our boat doesn't make it and we don't float. Boats are great when they float until they sink, and then we've got huge problems.
Red Hook, we're staying. We love this neighborhood. The neighborhood we're good. We're rebuilding. No question about it. Yeah, we're staying. This is our home.
The hurricane hit, the Brooklyn Public Library's Books on Wheels program has been anything but nostalgic. Going to devastated areas and giving families the opportunity to reconnect over a good read.
I can fire it up. Hang on a second. Right now, I have it 2 days a week, and the other Garrett's in on Wednesdays and Fridays. You know, it's a mix of everybody. Moms bring their kids. Sometimes you'll get the old folks bringing their books in. Not so much teenagers. When they find out no computers and no videos, goodbye. I think they appreciate it, especially the people that are returning books. And I know the librarians and the clerks that are waiving the fines, which is only right. Here we go. There's Sunita. Hey, Sunita, what do you say?
Hey, Peter, what's happening?
Nothing. She's a librarian here at this branch.
This is my 23rd year. Over here, I'm here 12 years. Even the big glass door in the lobby, that's broken. So you can imagine this is the door. The power and strength, you know, of the waves, you know. So there's a little boy. He told me that, you know, 2 of his books were swimming, and 1 book he was able to survive. When we opened the book, it was still wet, and his mother tells me he was so worried that it's a library book, and he wanted to come and return it. When they see the bookmobile, you know, they're all rushing in. You know, most of them lost their library cards, and me and Peter have been giving them the library cards. Not much to check out, but they're getting a lot of freebies from here.
Also, the other branches have been given what they can. This came in from Decal Library. Nice little Carnegie branch. Hi. How you doing?
How are you guys?
Okay. I certainly do, and I got a lot of freebies. A lot of free kids books.
How many books do you think? Christopher, pick a book, please, so we can...
I'm not stopping them, but don't take too many.
Don't be abusive. I don't see it.
We have to pick one book up. People are waiting to get in this. You're down here in the box.
Our basement, we had about 5 feet of water. We lost all our books. I had books going back I can't even tell you. Hand-me-down books, 30-year collection of comic books. Yeah, we lost a lot of really important books. We were a little lost without having anything to read in between the time. No, this is good because since we don't have anything in the house now, it's perfect that we could come here and we utilize it, so it's good.
All right.
She went through the boxes?
Go.
She's having a party? Grandpa helps.
I used to always go there with my friend, and now that it's closed, I can't really do that anymore. Oh, it's smaller than the library, but at least there's all the books in here. Well, most of them. I'm excited now that I at least have some place to hang out and read books. It's pretty cool. Ever since we lost most of our money, I guess we can get some free books we could read to enjoy ourselves while this happens.
They came to the bus to see me, huh?
Of course. You know what it's like again. Even during times of disaster, we think about the library, thinks about all of you.
When will you open it? You don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, take care.
Hopefully soon.
Canarsie is a close-knit community of families and small businesses. And when disaster struck, neighbors turned to neighbor to make it through the worst of the storm. Weeks later, that same spirit of unity is paving the path forward.
Never in a million years. I never thought that would happen. The flood that took place on Monday the 29th, I believe, that really turned our lives upside down. By the time we look outside, all the cars were underwater, the people are screaming, pitch black, and electricity wires falling all over the place. And we were in a time that we had to try to do the best to be safe. I recall my own child told me that, "Mommy, if we never make it, I just want to remind you that I love you." And when that child, when she told me that, it's just like you knew that you're taking a chance, but we made it to safety. In Canarsie, we are families. That's the way we see things, and we're neighbors. We help each other. We're trying to maintain, to go on with life. But right now, you can see a lot of garbage out. And this is my friend here. His life is in the basement, and he's here to tell us more about the story, what took place.
I see just water running, and I start to go to the sewer hole just to block it, but it didn't block it. And I yelled to my son, "Come fast, and we have to say something." I am a professional videographer and a little bit photographer. I'm doing this for 30 years almost here, when I just came from Ukraine. And I love what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying to dry some pictures. Maybe it's saved, it's some pictures, some negatives, from salt water, spoiled. Here was tapes, everything is in the water, everything is spoiled. Neighbors told me to call to FEMA, and I called, yes. In a few days they came, only $5,000 was discovered, but it's nothing to compare what I lost. The water came right here, up to my chest. This one, most expensive camera. This what is gone. This picture what I dried, in a few more days you cannot save it. You see it's already damaged here. A lot of gone. a lot, just. But we're still alive.
Yes, we have a lot of material things that we lost. Yes, we go into some struggle, but most importantly, it's about our lives. Like, I thank God that I'm alive. We can call it a mixed area, but mostly majority of people in Canarsie part It's from the Caribbean culture, a lot of Haitian, as you can just witness somebody just screaming in Creole. So it's a lot of Haitian that middle class working people that trying to do the best they can to raise a family.
I'm a father of 4 kids. Okay, we are 7 and live in the house. Right now we have a home we cannot utilize completely because you never know what's going to happen. Anytime it's rain, anytime, any little thing. All of a sudden you lose everything. We filed with FEMA. Last year they give us $5,000, which did not even enough for the boiler itself. Okay, this is some of the damages that we sustained last year and then continuing with this storm this year. As you can see, if you look at right there by the air conditioning, all those things were sustained from last year and continuing this year. Everything needs to be replaced because with the mildew, everything, and then I have little kids. This is the American dream they're talking about. It become an American nightmare for us. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys and then go downstairs. After I lost my power, the pump was not working anymore. And 2 days later, this is where the water was. After Hurricane Irene last year, we did the renovation. The water came up to here, about 3-4 feet. From the ground up, we put the tile up, we cut off all this, and then just in case if it's happening again, this time it come right here. We tried to do our best in cleaning up, but it was so much. This is the boiler room and the water heater that we replaced last year after Hurricane Irene. All of them are brand new, and then all of them gone again. So the wash machine and dryer, everything gone. All of those are garbage now.
As you can see, we are very resilient people. I truly believe that we're gonna make it. We just have to work harder.
I met Melissa for Toys of Hope, and she was able to supply me with tons and tons of school supplies.
Branded toys, clothes, household items, pet food. We help over 65,000 children, families, and their pets year-round. All volunteer, 100% of all the donations go back to the people.
I'm looking for a blanket right now, and I'm a little cold, and we lost a lot of things in the house, and you know, it's pretty terrible. I think that's going to work.
Not too many people are hitting Canarsie because they don't think Canarsie needs, but we in Canarsie, we need a lot because we have low-level houses, we have basements. In some of the houses, we have our family living there. We do have middle-class family here. A lot of us are living check by check.
There's only one more left.
Canarsie is surrounded by water. You got Spring Creek on that side, and you got the Potegot North Inlet on this side. Then you have the ocean itself on in the front. So hopefully for the future, they will put a 20-foot high wall back there on Potegot North to protect the residents out here.
I would like to see happening in our environment to get a thorough assessment, what can be done to prevent that kind of overflow, where it's not going to be problematic for the neighborhood. Because we need people to stay in Canarsie. We need Canarsie to thrive again.
In the past few weeks, hundreds of Brooklyn nonprofits have shifted their perspective to do things they normally don't, like feeding and housing victims of storms. In this next story, we'll introduce you to the people from Powers, Inc., who've changed their perspective from helping victims of domestic violence to helping the community at large.
Better than getting money for them. So, well, I thank you for everything you're doing.
Well, best of luck to you and your endeavors.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Take care.
Take care.
I think the community has responded very well. I've seen a lot of great generosity, neighbor to neighbor. I think New Yorkers are really, and Brooklynites in particular, but New Yorkers in general are very hospitable and really very community oriented and really care about their neighbors. Today's donations, they're going to a place called the Court Club, which is in Gerritsen Beach, which was very hard hit. And they're looking for donations of non-perishable household items, things like that.
I am here helping to transport donated goods to the Gerritsen Beach community. I found this volunteer opportunity on Facebook and wanting to help, and just decided to pitch in.
Being a resident of Brooklyn in Sheepshead Bay, I believe naturally the resiliency of a New Yorker goes on. There has been devastation that we've never seen before.
Even though we don't generally deal in disaster relief, I think this is still right up our alley in terms of helping to get people restored to normal.
This is why nonprofit works. Naturally, like any other business, quote unquote business, it's hard to get funding and so forth and so on. The same way it's difficult for people to drop off bags as you may want it. You may want hundreds of bags, but you may only have 10. You say, well, that's 10 more than you had yesterday. We have a long ways to go. Sure, in the months to come, we'll all kind of get back to normal, we hope.
About 2 years ago, on our program, Caught in the Act, Art in Brooklyn, we featured a husband and wife glassblowing team at their studio in Red Hook. Now, in a moment, we'll show you what their studio looks like before the storm. And following that, a video produced by the filmmakers behind the website, Story of America, A Nation Divided.
We're in Pier Glass, which is a glass-blowing facility that my wife and I own in Red Hook, Brooklyn. It's a place that we come to create our designs and do work for other people as well. Pier Glass, as a little company, we started in 1994. We have one main furnace that is what's called a freestanding pot furnace. It's a big ceramic pot standing in the furnace that holds about 300 pounds of molten glass.
The first time you walk in, there aren't words for what you see, that devastation. And when things are as tall as you or taller, and it's just, things have been just lifted up and just thrown down. We had to fight our way through the door. Everything was just jammed over here. Then you go back outside and people would be walking around just in this daze and just going, I don't know what to do. The water in here was over 5 foot tall, and it took all this kind of equipment and made it kind of do like a big whirlpool. When we arrived the day after the storm, the water in there was up to the very top, and it was still warm, probably steaming at about 1200 degrees. To rebuild this one piece of equipment, it's going to be over $25,000. The water came up to that shelf right there, above that shelf, because everything on that shelf is wet. And so that still has to be cleaned off. Don't trip, be very careful. There's wires and cords everywhere. This is a cold chop. All these wheels, these are how we grind glass and cut it, things like that. And that's a really good one because I had all the plant materials, so the dirt floated up, and it gives you quite the water line. I don't have words for how wonderful the help has been. There is so much stuff. I mean, I'm sure when you go on the streets, you see all the stuff that just keeps coming out more and more. And we've had volunteers with bags and flashlights and coffee, and you name it, we've had it. And they fed us. They brought food the first few days when we just didn't have anything. We were just working in the dark down here. A disaster is like having death happen to you. And hopefully life is going to come back from that death. And it will recover, but it's going to be quite a long road to do that.
After the hype of last year, when Hurricane Irene turned out to be more of a punchline than a punch, many expected the same from Superstorm Sandy. But hurricane parties soon gave way to genuine panic. One Williamsburg filmmaker documented the storm from his waterfront home. Many Brooklyn schools suffered damages during Hurricane Sandy. One of the largest, Abraham Lincoln High School, right off the Shore Parkway. Their football team will have to play their playoff games elsewhere, but the staff of the school are dedicated to helping their students, football players and otherwise, cope with what happened during the storm.
You're walking towards the school building, there's dirt everywhere. There's like sand everywhere, you know, it just seemed like the beach just, you know, just like someone just threw sand all over here. And it just seemed very dirty. It's amazing how strong water is because it was lifting up cars and hitting each other. The school itself, thank God, yeah, we lost power, we didn't have phone lines, but you know, the custodial staff did an amazing job to try to get the building back up and running. The field was damaged.
Well, we lost our field, our playing surface to play games on, and the practice as well. We lost a lot of areas. These are kind of trip hazards. You know, it's up, it came up off the ground, it's bunched together right here, and it's spidering down in certain spots of the field. So they got to pull it out to make it tight. This was the worst of the damage right here, the height-wise, and it froze up on us when we had that second nor'easter. We think some more water got under there and froze up a little bit on it and kind of made it hard now. You can't even step down on it to push it outwards. So this is the area that we're concerned that they may have to take up totally and replace. No way to dry it out. The company said they got to take everything up, try to pull it out, and see what kind of damage is underneath. They think there might be some damage underneath with the layers that they lay. We got hit really hard with Sandy. I mean, we're about 2 blocks away from the ocean, so we're unable to play a game here. We got spots where we can practice on, but we still can't get the full effect of practicing on a full field. You know, it's not a full distance. Then we also got hit really hard in our field house. We had a lot of equipment that was in ruin, and some of it cannot be replaced. So here's the water line. I saved it so we don't forget it. You can still see it here. That's how high the water came. Filled up the whole thing right there. We marked the Sandy 2012. Okay, but that's how high the water came. And again, we're about 2 to 3 blocks away from the beach, so that tells you how high the water came. And so every kid's locker in here was ruined with whatever was on the bottom on the floor. Okay. It came up to this high, like you saw over there. Cleats, practice gear, sneakers, things they were unable to salvage. So we had to practice a couple of days without any equipment, you know, just helmets and shoulder pads. Because luckily we had our helmets and shoulder pads up high, so we were able to save those things. We're digging out, you know, we're coming back. We're coming back. You know, we had to play our first playoff game at Lafayette, and we're going to play our second game at Lafayette as well. I think it actually brought us closer together because we had a lot of kids that were displaced from their homes.
I live in Coney Island on West 24th Street, and it was difficult because if you lived in a house, the houses were flooded, but if you lived in an apartment, we lost electricity, heat, so it's very difficult to live in. Once the hurricane started, a lot of people evacuated, so yeah, I had to leave Coney Island for a week. We went to Brownsville. It really didn't feel comfortable. Like, I felt misplaced, like I didn't belong there. I didn't feel home.
I hated the storm. It personally was really bad because everybody that I really knew was gone from my residence. Everyone was gone. A lot of elderly people died. One died in my hands. A grandmother that lived across the floor from me. She was like a grandma, really was. Every time I needed something, I always went there. I was downstairs. I was trying to help people. You know, the elderly people that were downstairs because they turned down the elevators. So people couldn't get anywhere, so I was taking them upstairs. And when I saw the water coming, it was coming a lot, and people were opening the doors, and more water was coming in, and so then all the lights went off, and everyone was yelling. All dogs were running everywhere. It was very bad. When I saw the water pouring in through my building, I was like, "Mom, get all your stuff together. We gotta go." And then we went downstairs. We saw the water coming up. We went back upstairs, and we just sat there. We were talking about everything, what would happen if something did happen. She told me everything, where money is, where everything is that I needed, if anything did happen to her. It was a little bit uneasy, you know. Grandmother died in my arms, but I got through it. I went to counseling at Lincoln, and all the coaches were there for me.
You sit there and you say, we're supposed to be the role models for our kids, and you want to be the strength for them, and you can't really prepare for it. You know, you see the kids were so happy to be back, and you know, they just wanted to come up to you and hug you and tell you their story about what happened, where they were the day of, you know, the hurricane. I think being a part of a team or athletics, I think the kids appreciate it a little bit more because of the fact that if that emotional stress that they had at home, now they can take it out on the court, on the field. And in their eyes, it's back to the norm. Like this is what life was before the hurricane, and we're back to that. So it's baby steps that we took to get them back to that.
Sandy really just took a really big part on us. And now we're recovering slowly but surely.
The people who staff our hospitals had to cope with what was happening to their own homes and belongings. But like the folks at Downstate Long Island College Hospital, somehow managed to get to work and go above and beyond to care for the patients who need them.
I've spent over 30 years in Louisiana and Florida where hurricanes come with regularity every year. And when I got to New York and heard that a hurricane was coming, I thought this was a very unusual event, and we set up a command center here, and I was terribly impressed with how organized this group was at the command center and the response of all of our staff, employees, and physicians to this very, very large and dangerous storm that was coming.
Yes, I can hold. Thank you. The day the storm hit, I was actually working that Monday. Early evening, I went to check what was going on outside, and the amount of water that was coming up the street was absolutely amazing. It was like a river coming from both directions. My cell phone was down. The only way that I was able to communicate was with my cousin. I just said to her, I'm really frightened. I don't know what's going to happen here. You need to call the command center at Downstate Long Island College Hospital, because I knew it was open, to let them know that I was in the house, and should anything happen, quite honestly, that to look here.
I wasn't going to evacuate, but I had strong encouragement from my sister who said, get out of there. So the morning of the storm, I packed up a few things and I left and I went to Bay Ridge, where my aunt lives. So I was watching the television about the storm as it progressed, and I called up work and I said, if you need me, I can come in. And my manager, Peggy O'Rourke, said, when? I said, anytime. She said, how about now? So I got on the Gowanus, went 30 miles an hour, and came to work, and I worked 7:15 at night to 7:30 in the morning.
We had 119 people spend the night here the first night to make sure that we had staff here to take care of our patients and each other, and many of them stayed multiple nights.
Sunday, my mother told me that the trains wasn't running past 7 o'clock. So she said, make sure you get to work, leave at 5, leave at 5. Take 3 pairs of socks, 3 undies, and 3 t-shirts. So I did it, so I left at 5 o'clock to get here at 7. So I punched in and I started working. Everybody was stranded, so we were blowing up airbags for the people, because with the whole 3rd floor, a lot of people stayed.
People that came in the day stayed till their tour was over, even though the storm was just about to hit. There were people here, one woman, Elizabeth Walsh, she stayed about 4 days because she lived in Staten Island, and she knew if she went home she wouldn't be able to come back. And then we had the problem with the gas. We had problems with train. The traffic was terrible. Some people, when they couldn't get gas, rode their bicycles in. Didn't matter how far it was or how cold it was, they still made every effort to come in.
This coming down, and then it dips right over here. This is weird. Well, the whole city was in shambles during the Sandy. There was an urgent need for physicians to be present at their posts, and one of the things that we decided that at least somebody in a senior position was actually going to stay here to take care of the patients in case if they came here with a heart attack or any illness that needed urgent attention and care by somebody who was experienced. And I decided to volunteer for it and stayed here for the duration of the week after the storm hit our city.
We are fully functional. It didn't take long to get our mechanical and electrical systems working. We never ran out of supplies, had plenty of food and pharmaceuticals and all that, so all that was taken care of. But we're not finished with it yet, because we're doing a post-mortem on what we did. Let's take a look at what we did. What did we do well? What can we improve upon in case there's another storm? So we use this as a learning experience, and we're incorporating our look-see also with University Hospital down there at Downstate. So we're combining our lessons together so we can have a bigger impact.
Thanks to technology, anyone with a smartphone can be a storm tracker. Where news vans couldn't go, Brooklynites did, and they took their camera phones. Here's some of what they saw. Thank you for joining us for this Brooklyn Independent TV special, Brooklyn Storms Back. It only works when you work with us. So please continue to contribute, volunteer, and share your stories with us at bsb@brickartsmedia.org. This is where we live. Bye now.
Become a fan on Facebook, like Brooklyn Independent Television.